Welcome to the GSUTV Podcast, where Georgia State's brightest voices, students, faculty, and VIPs come together to share their stories. Ready to hear some powerful messages? Let's dive in. Welcome to this new episode of the GSUTV Podcast. I'm Octavia Nasr. Today we have two guests. We have Dayla Fritz and Yuximo Zhou. Am I saying the name correctly? How do you say it?
Yeah, Yuximo Zhou. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I guess I got it right. Well, welcome to this podcast. Our guests today are students in the Journalism Practicum. They were students in the Journalism Practicum during the fall semester of 2023. Welcome. We are going to talk about who you are first, your background, a little bit about your interests, what brought you to Atlanta, what brought you to GSU, and then we're going to talk about the practicum and your projects in the practicum and your experiences and all that. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to start with you, Dayla.
Okay.
Tell me about your journey that got you to GSU. Where were you born, raised?
Okay, so my name is Dayla Fritz. I'm from Albany, Georgia, a very small town, 3 hours away. I decided to come to GSU to meet new people, get more, learn more about diversity. Where I'm from, it's not really a lot of different people. So being here allowed me to learn more about diversity, inclusivity, and just being able to connect with others and network.
That's an interesting comment you made.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder when people say the word diversity
Mm-hmm.
and inclusivity, because see, we're from different, like I'm from Lebanon. I was born and raised in Lebanon. Yuximo from China.
Yeah.
So for me, when I say diversity, I mean something. He means something. I want to know what does it mean for you? See, we might look at you and say, oh, you're from here. What do you mean? You grew up in a place that doesn't have, diversity.
Meeting people from different cultural backgrounds, that's what I can say what diversity is. So I was able to meet people that have different religions than me and able to connect with them and learn more about them and different cultures. Where I'm from, I wasn't able to experience those different cultures until I came to GSU. So coming to GSU allowed me to learn those.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. I feel like that could help me in my career field and my future life.
Right,
yeah.
It kind of opened you up,
yes.
right, to the options.
Open my horizons to just new things.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Yuximo, you also go by Ivan, and I will get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But first, tell me, your journey is a much longer one. You came all the way from China. Did you come straight to GSU?
Yeah, exactly. I just came from China and directly and flight here. And because my uncle, they immigrated here like 10 years ago. So they told me there's a huge opportunity here. You should join us and do more, podcast and the journalism, the stuff, and probably you can find your own destiny.
That is very interesting. Like even having you, and I must say for our viewers, we did not really plan who's going to be on the podcast and when, right? Like some podcasts will have 3 people, others will have 1 person. This one has to, just because you signed up for this time, the time worked for you. And I'll tell you, it's been amazing for us as we're putting these podcasts together to see the diversity in, the personalities and the backgrounds, languages, interests, hobbies. And then we have one thing in common, especially here in this podcast, GSUTV, of course, and the practicum, the Journalism Practicum. So the practicum, I'm very curious to know how you signed up for the practicum. It's not a usual class, right? It's a signature class. It's called JOUR 4030, right?
Exactly.
It can't be any colder than this. Tell me, or tell each other, how you came to the class. You signed. How did you find it? Sign up. What was going through your mind? What were your expectations? Discuss.
Can I go first?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I was taking digital journalism with Mr. Stephen Hayes. And, in that class, basically we interview people, develop stories. So when I did that, we always talked about Journalism Practicum. So I'm like, okay, next fall I'm going to do Journalism Practicum. So I signed up for it, and when I signed up for it, Professor Nasr wasn't even the professor for the class. Mr. Douglas Metcalf, I think that's his name, he was the professor. But I'm very happy I got her. So yeah,
Exactly.
not saying anything about Mr. Metcalf, but I feel like I can connect with her better.
Yeah, I know. It's
So,
God's
yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything worked out great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my situation is kind of special because before I select this course, I talked with Dr. Bathelo. He said,
Who was your advisor, Dr.
yeah,
Bartholow?
Dr. Bathelo. He said, what do you want to do in the future? I mean, I want to do more practical, the cameraman or, the videographer, like video relevant stuff. He said, you should select this one because you are going to have an internship with our GSUTV manager, Professor Octavia Nasr. I said, oh, wow, that sounds great. I want to do that. I don't want to do some editorial, to be honest. I'm not good at writing at all. So he said, you should select this one. Okay, I searched your name. Actually, I was about to send an email to you to ask for more details about this course. But I probably back to that time, your email hasn't set up yet, so I didn't get the answer. But yeah, lucky me, I'm
Are
still
you
right
happy
now.
you're here?
Definitely. It's really useful, really helpful. I mean, it helps you to get into the real professional media world and to do more things from the before production and right now to the post-production. You can do whatever you want. You can find a place that's suitable for you.
So it's interesting. I didn't know that the class was listed, before. I guess because it was listed in the spring or in the summer,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting, and I'm curious to know, how are you different from day one to today?
Can I reflect back to the digital journalism course for a second?
Yes, absolutely.
So when I took that course, I was definitely not comfortable because it was new to me. So I would definitely shadow everyone else and just stay to the back and just listen to everyone else talk. And when I came here, I did the same thing. So coming to this class allowed me to really step outside of my comfort zone and realize that I do have a voice. And yeah.
That's interesting. I want to pick up on that before we move on to you, Yuximo, because you were kind of shy.
I still am.
You still am.
I still am, but I'm working on it.
But you're working on it, and you also, even this podcast, you were going to hide, right?
Yeah, I was not going to do this. If I didn't come yesterday, I wasn't going to do this.
And something changed, and I appreciate you telling me this, that, you're able to come, to terms with it's okay to be outside of my comfort zone. With another one of your peers, we talked about safety,
Yes.
To create a safe environment or a safe space for people to try different things, for people to go outside of the box and not feel that they're going to be shamed or they're going to be made to feel like failures or they're not enough and all that. Can you talk about that a little bit, if this applies, if this is something that's going on, and you can refer back to this class, other classes, GSU in general.
So day one of Journalism Practicum, something that bothers me personally is not understanding something, and I don't really like asking for help too much, but I have to realize that I have to ask for help, and you helped me realize that it's okay to ask for help. You're not asking for help, it's not going to help you at all, so just ask. So yeah, that helped me out. And then outside of classes where I'm not really that comfortable, I'm a very radiant person. I have a great personality, I talk a lot, I want everyone else to feel comfortable, but when it comes to me not being comfortable, I'm just the shy one. So this class helped me kind of come out of that. Yeah.
How about you? You have no problem expressing
I
yourself.
Yeah, I'm kind of outgoing person, but I want to point out you said at the beginning you feel really uncomfortable, right? I mean, which means you are settling a growing zone, so different from the comfort zone. You are setting that, which means you are going up. Definitely will meet up with a lot of troubles and difficulties, and you will finish them, overcome all the difficulties, you will grow up. And I appreciate that. I mean, I have exactly the same feeling, but I'm this kind of person. I want challenges. I want to jump out of my comfort zone. I'm feeling, and also Professor Nasr, you said you were creating really safe environment. I totally appreciate that. And also I agree with that, because the outside, I have some internships before, a lot of professional workers, they won't have so much patience like you are, and they will criticize you and frustrate your confidence, and you won't feel really good. You feel really bad, what a dark day like that.
Just to chime in, you are very patient. You're very honest, and you're willing to help, and that's what I appreciate. I'm not saying other professors aren't willing to help, but you are actually you take out the time. Even when it came to the projects, you wanted to come to everyone's project meant a lot. So yeah.
And I think that's important to say when people are wondering about the practicum. It is a signature class, so the idea is to give you an experience that is different from what you're used to in regular classes, right? And the one thing for me is a signature experience, if I were the student, is to be given the opportunity to grow, given the opportunity to be creative. But I have to say that you have been a great class. All of you are smart. You came up with good ideas, so you helped me a lot. And plus, being the managing director of GSUTV, I'm invested in your pieces. So again, just not like other classes, I want your pieces to be good, to be solid, to be as close to professional as possible, because we are going to air them on GSUTV.
Yeah.
So I think this is an opportunity to explain to people how this works. So to you now, day one, today, how much growth, where, what would you change if you could? If you could go back to day one, what would you do differently?
Wow, I have to say, I learned a lot from this, this course. From the day one to right now, who I am. I mean, the day one, actually, I did not touch that many, chance to have to touch the cameras, the gears. And, the first project I did with Brandon, I totally messed up the white balance. I learned a lot from you, and then I learned from that. I know how to white balance.
We're not going to talk about the mic.
Yeah, and a lot of
a
lot of things I made
shoot,
mistakes,
right?
a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
You are learning from mistakes.
Yes.
But I appreciate that you give me the chance.
It's okay.
To recorrect my mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, this is the place to make mistakes, right? You're not. No one is asking you to be a professional here. Instead, you're going to be the future professional. So this is your chance to try all the different things you want to try. All right, well, that's wonderful. Tell me now about your projects. Both of you ended up working on different projects. You said your pitch worked from the beginning. We approved your pitch. Tell me about your pitch and how you went about doing it.
So, my pitch started with Publix at Summerhill, and I was only going to talk about Publix at Summerhill. So after I asked them for permission,
was it Publix? We said which was it? What was it called?
Publix at Summerhill, and that was going to be the
right
slug. It was just going to be introducing students to Publix at Summerhill.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was going to do it on that, but I reached out to Publix. They said no for interviewing in their store. So then I thought about it. I'm like, Dayla, do all of the food provisions here at Georgia State, and I'm so glad I did that because I feel like it's much better, and I produced a much better piece by having Panther Pantry, Panther Dining, Kroger, and Publix at Summerhill.
It is true. You ended up with a much more, comprehensive story. And I like to hear you talk about that because, again, when we talk about day one and today, all this language you weren't even aware of.
Yeah.
If you remember our first class
I remember.
Right? I'm waiting for these words, these keywords, but I'm hoping that you can see the difference in even how you're talking about your package because you actually produced it yourself. What did you do on your project? You did the camera work?
I'm doing editing now. I did the logging and scripting.
Yeah, the script. And you also worked on other stories.
Yes, I worked on Mike St. Justy. I think that's how you say his name.
St. Just.
St. Just. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
St. Just. Mike St. Just. He did drag culture. I worked on his project, and I basically just shot the elements from Pride Festival, which was really fun.
Which was fun, and I was at that, and that was fun to work with you and Mike on the Pride Festival. And you did camera at the Pride?
Yes. So I helped him develop his script. But he did most of it. I just helped him with ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to say also for our audience's benefit that we had 2 graduate students in the class. You are one, Ivan Yuximo, and Mike Saint-Just. So we had 2 graduate students. You are an honors student. So we had different assignments for graduate students, honor students, and also we have students who requested more than 2 credits. They have 3 credits. They also had extra projects. So this class accommodates all the different, levels. Of course, the requirement for graduate student was different from undergrad, different from honors. And that's something to keep in mind, that there is room for everybody. And then you ended up working with a graduate student.
Yes.
You, as a graduate student, you worked with many of the undergrads. Tell me about your project.
Wow, I still feel like a dream. I'm the current producer of that project. That's crazy. I haven't realized.
You are the producer of that project.
I don't know. I have such leadership. To be honest, before that.
So tell me about your leadership. What came out?
From the beginning, I thought, okay, probably a producer just to give your instructions, give your teammates, to let them do whatever you wanted them to do. But you finally realized, okay, probably I should do that for them. Some part of that, like for example, like setting up the camera, like shooting stuff, because not many of my teammates they know how to operate the cameras. So I have to do that. And later then, I need to do some interviews, but I'm not the interviewers. I just set up the camera and stay with them to set up the mic and let them to give the correction to the interviewees, like that. But I'm so blessed because all of my teammates, they are so good. They did a really good job. And,
how many people did you have on your team?
Eric, Killa, Koa, Mike, and myself, and Duncan. Yeah.
Duncan. And we have to say that the reason why your project was a large one is because you're a graduate student. It was your project and Mike's, right? So 2 graduate students working on, and we decided actually, and you chose to do GSUTV. Actually, you did a story on the practicum.
Yeah.
So tell me about it.
Okay, actually at the beginning I was about to do the Goody Nation project, but eventually the manager, actually founder of the Goody Nation, I cannot get a connection with him. So
that was
that's
interesting.
The worst
feeling.
Right?
I mean, it's really frustrating. I finished almost like 80% of the project. I finished the shooting, only left the interviews.
So again, for the benefit of our audience, you started with a story, the Goody Nation.
Yeah, the Goody Nation.
And you did so much of the work on that, and then the main character ghosted you.
Yeah, the canal showed up. So
you said that could happen.
I said that could happen, right?
And
exactly.
you said be aware of that and be cautious.
Because that's life, right? Life happens. People change their mind. They say yes in the beginning, then they get shy, or they decide, I don't want to do it. So you had to go to Plan B, which ended up being the GSUTV project.
Exactly.
Now you did more, which we're not going to talk about necessarily today, but you did more. You and Mike had extra projects, that we gave you, and you did a superb job with that. Within the department, you shot an event, and that was good.
Thanks.
But tell me about then the GSUTV project. How did that come about? What did you, as a producer, because you were the producer of that event, how was it? What did you do? How did it work for you?
I feel like a producer, gonna stress a lot. You have to think about it. You need to take the responsibility for the whole team. If you cannot to have a really good strategy for the whole team, like when to shoot, how to shoot, where to shoot, how can we to set up our different dues, your project will be bad.
What was the most challenging part, you'd say, about being a producer of this project?
The producer, I have to say the biggest, most significant challenge is definitely talent management. You have such a good teammate, but you don't know who can do this, who can do this. Some part of them, their function will be overlapped. For example, I have 3 really good the editorial writers. All of them can do the writing part. All of them can to give the corrections, right? But I need to select only 2 of them to work on that because my project doesn't need that many people to do that. So I have to say, okay, anybody else can can sacrifice your time or your ability to do this, to do the camera or something else. we need to make a really good balance, And also later on, I need to plan on time because a different teammate, they have different schedule. You need to make sure everybody's schedule is the same, I mean, it's my first time to be the producer. I know I did not really good at it, but I'll be trying my best to make more improvement from this time. I'm pretty sure I can do a better job next time.
So what would you say, I'm going to stay with you, Yuximo, what would you say is the highlight of these projects that you worked on? What is like the most fun thing that you thought you did?
I mean, the most fun thing, definitely, I would say, is you collect different, the footages from different groups. You can, go through their works they did, and you find out, wow, this probably can be one of the clip of my own. You need to think about how to make your work really creative. And also, do you see our, the beginning, the intro of our project? Me and Mike, we shoot on the street near the landing house, the street. And we spent several hours to chant multiple times, to rolling on camera to shoot that clips for our beginning and the ending for the project. So I mean, I always want to think about because I'm the videographer and also the video editor. I know what kind of thing the video editor probably want to use, what kind of clips. When I was shooting, I would to think about that from the video editor's perspective. This part probably can do some transition. This part probably we can put little bit the transition effects on that. So the most interesting part definitely is after shooting stuff and working through your footage that you got, that really certificated.
How about you, Dayla? Tell me about the low point and the high point of your project.
Can I start with the high point?
Of course, you can start with anything you want.
So the high point was the perspectives that I could get from everyone. So being able to get different perspectives from people was allowed me to really learn new things about it and just open my mind up to different things. Even when it came to people's stories, my teammate Jackie, her story, he was for Atlanta. My teammate Maceo, his story, Georgia State football. It's just learning new things and being able to take different shots from different places allowed me to just open my horizon and learn new things, yeah.
How about a low point?
The low point? Being afraid of trying new things. So even when it comes to the camera, Ivan's very good with the camera. I'm not great with the camera. I'm more of a writer. I like to write. But when it comes to camera, it's okay to try and learn new things. The first day of class, you allowed us to see the GSUTV equipment. Me personally, I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about this right now. I'm going to get someone else to do this. But that's something that I should have actually worked towards and was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself and try this and do this. And let's just see where it takes us. I won't know unless I try. If I mess up, I could try again. So, yeah.
So it sounds to me like...
That was a low point, but it's actually a high point now that I think about it. So, yeah.
Yes, it is the high point.
It's not a high point, but it's a low point. But now that I've learned from that, it's my high point.
Okay, yeah. I like that. You're using it as a learning experience.
Yes.
That's good. So one thing I want to say, just listening to both of you, I guess the idea is that you have two approaches, to this class. You can choose to focus on the final product. I just want to get my final product out of the way. So who's the best person to shoot? Who's the best person to edit? Who's the best person to write? And go about it this way. Or the other option is to say, you know what, this is my chance to try different things. Let me just go out and even if I'm not good at camera work, let me see if, I can learn it. And then the only thing is, you don't know how it will end up because both of you chose the things that you like to do, that you're comfortable. You chose writing, although you did do some camera, but
yes,
it was a safe type of camera work, right? Tell me about it.
It was what I was most comfortable with, the smartphone kit. Yep, I used that. I can say my fear was not doing well with the GSUTV equipment, but what I can say for other people when they come to this class, just try, because the worst that's going to happen is it not filming or not being on the SD card, but at least you tried. So it's I'll never know how the GSUTV equipment would have looked because I didn't try. So that's my regret. So yeah, I wouldn't want nobody else to make that regret.
And that's
were great.
brave of you to say,
Yeah.
right? It's really brave of you to say, and hopefully, people will learn from this experience. So I think we are, getting to the end of our interview here. I do want to ask you specifically, because I thought, one of your highs would be, the VIP that you interviewed for your piece. But
It was.
It was. Well, tell us about this.
Interviewing, I don't know why I didn't say that. Yeah. Interviewing people was the highest point as well. Like, learning from my teammates was great, but interviewing people and getting to know how they feel about GSU was a great experience as well. My favorite interview was with residents, right? But now that I've opened my mind up and talked to you, Professor Nasr, President Brian Blake was actually a great interviewee, and I'm glad that I did him now because I was able to learn new things. I was able to get new updates about what GSU has to offer later on in the years. So, yeah, I don't think I took that interview to like the fullest advantage that I should have took it, but I'm glad that I had that interview, and I'm glad that I was able to talk to him.
And that's really the learning experience, like being in this class. I think, like, watching you now, listening to you talk, like, one of the things you learn is how TV works.
Yeah.
Like, to get an interview with President Blake, for example, if you had put in a request, you probably wouldn't have gotten it. If you said, I'd like to interview President Blake about the pantry program at GSU. I mean, most probably you wouldn't have gotten a response, or his schedule is too full, or whatever is going on, because it's like, why would he want to talk about that? But somehow you got him, and in the moment you did not appreciate the value or how great this was.
It's not that I didn't appreciate it, I just didn't realize how big of a deal this was until I realized it. Like, I was talking to my supervisor, because I work in residence housing, and I was telling her about me interviewing President Brian Blake, and she was like, I can't even get a response from him via email. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't realize
and then
the significance of this.
And to refer back to what Yuximo went through, he had someone that he was profiling, and he did, what did you say, 80% of the work?
Yeah, 80% of work.
And the guy decided to just stop responding. Yeah. So, this is where you start comparing, experiences, and you say, his experience is different with guests, your experience is different with guests, and yet both of you learned very, very important lessons that, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes, you have to be open to the possibilities, and sometimes a door closes and 10 different doors open instead, and don't despair, don't kind of give up, don't think that this is the end of the world, because there's always something else to do. There are always stories to do. Any other?
I thought it was the end of the world when Publix told me no. So I can say I'm very happy. I'm not very happy that they told me no, but it worked out great. So.
Right? Cool. I remember that conversation.
Yeah, because I emailed you and I really was.
The story.
Yes, I emailed you and I was very upset, Professor Nasr. Like, I almost cried a little. I cry about anything, but like I almost cried about it because it's like, okay, what am I going to do now? But everything worked out great.
Because again, nothing is the end of the world, right? We couldn't shoot inside of Publix, but then we could still do the story without being inside of Publix. Obviously, we had different plans, right? We had plan A and B and C and D. And you ended up with a totally different story, which was, like we said before, it was a much more, a wider story, a much more encompassing story, and a deeper story, obviously, that affects more people, more students. Well, that's wonderful. I want to thank you for a wonderful conversation. Thank you both for joining me.
Of course, thank you.
For agreeing to sit down and talk to me about GSU, about the Journalism Practicum, about your lives. I wish you the best of luck, and please come back and visit us and tell us how things are going. And thank you for joining us on this GSUTV podcast. My guests today were Dayla Fritz and Yuximo Zhou. Both of them students in the practicum, the Journalism Practicum here at GSU. They participated in the class during the fall semester of 2023.